Hi guys, thanks for joining in today's video. I've got Brian here, and I always make videos saying, it's not really realistic for somebody to live on $800 or less than $1,000 here in the Philippines. Well, Brian did it for well over a year on an $800 to $1,000 budget, so it is possible. So we're going to kind of deep dive into that in today's topic. Now, that was his former amount that he lived on. He's had new job opportunities, so he lives on much more than that now. But we're going to jump into that. Stick around for the video. So I guess, is it really possible to live on $800 to $1,000? Now, I had did it at one point when during the pandemic, and I could not even go out, and I was stuck at home pretty much.
Yeah.
But you did it on a regular basis for over a year, huh?
Yeah. You know what? And first of all, I just want to preface by saying it is possible to do it. However, to one of Gio's original videos he made a while back, when you're in this kind of surviving versus thriving area,
sure,
800 to 1,000 is probably going to be more in the surviving area, I would say.
Gotcha. So what kind of lifestyle, Brian, are we talking about? When you were living at this budget, was it kind of bare minimum, modest comfort, or luxury? Yeah. Probably not luxury, I'm sure.
Definitely not luxury. Yeah, you're not going to be anywhere near luxury. I see videos of people saying, well, you can live like a king in the Philippines for $500 a month.
Yeah,
please, someone link me the video to show me where the hell is somebody living comfortably and like a king on $500. Right. If you're deep in the province of really any island, you're still not living like a king on 500. You're still going to be living somewhere that's very, very modest budget. And certainly in the city, you're not going to live that way. But even going up to 800 to 1,000, that kind of lifestyle is really going to be more conducive with, again, surviving and really just making sure you're carefully budgeting.
Would you say at that time that you had lived at that budget, were you bare minimum, or do you think you're maybe, you still have extra money to go out and do stuff?
Yeah. I think when you get closer to a comma in your monthly salary, I wouldn't say you're necessarily at a bare minimum living, but rent is something you really have to take into consideration. And a lot of you guys who are watching and, us as Americans being from the West, we generally have a certain way we like to live in comfort. And so rent is such a big part of that. The place I moved to was only 7,000 pesos a month. So it was a bit more bare minimum than my condo lifestyle now. So a little different.
We'll get into that in a minute on what kind of place you lived at. But what city or province were you living in at this time?
Pretty much the entire time I was here, and well, not here anyways, I'm in Bacolod right now, I should say.
Yeah.
But I was in Cebu City the whole time. I was specifically in Lapu-Lapu and Maribago, if anyone knows where that's at, a little bit south of Mactan. So that's where I was living.
So you were paying about 7,000 pesos a month.
Yeah.
What did 7,000 pesos a month give you?
I got pretty lucky, I have to say, because I was on Facebook kind of looking through the different listings for apartments and whatnot. And as a matter of fact, at the time I had an ex who helped me find this place, and she said, there's a place conveniently 3 minutes walk from my place.
Okay.
That didn't turn out very well, obviously. Yeah. And she said it's 7K pesos, which is, what is that? Maybe $120, I guess.
Yeah.
Or around that.
120.
And I was lucky. It was a fully furnished studio apartment.
Okay.
Queen size bed, flat screen TV, split type aircon.
Wow.
You got all the works. And
studio?
Yeah, studio. Now, mind you, it's not a super modern place. It's in one of those kind of local esquinas, if you guys know what I'm talking about, those little alleyways off the street. But it's very inconvenient getting in and out of it. But for the price and for what I got, it wasn't bad.
Was it safe? You felt safe?
I felt very safe for the most part. I would say, when you're kind of one of the only foreigners living in one of these little esquinas, though, you definitely get more eyeballs on you. And at least be aware of your surroundings. I mean, the Filipinos, it's obviously no surprise, are some of the most hospitable, friendly people you'll ever meet in your life. But as long as you reciprocate that, you're friendly to them,
Right.
generally you'll never have any issues. So,
What about utilities like electric, water, internet? Were you? How did you work that out? Because electric bills can be high, and even internet can be kind of high in the Philippines too. So
this might be a little shocking, actually, but I actually paid more for my electricity than my rent. Actually,
no, that's actually not shocking.
It is so common, and it is pretty crazy to think about that. But when I first moved there, I mean, I had my AC cranking medium or high blast around 18 Celsius, 19, and that's pretty cold, I would say.
That was something you did not want to sacrifice.
Going back to our original point, comfortability. If you're coming to the Philippines, unless you're very used to that hot, humid weather, aircon is a must here. It really is. You're talking about 31, 32 degrees Celsius every day. It's hot. And so as for my electric bill, we're looking at like 11,000 pesos a month. So
11,000,
almost twice.
That's actually really high for a studio.
It's ridiculous.
That's more than my 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
What about internet? Did you have internet?
I did, yeah. And that's one of the other things too. I don't know if the law has changed on this, but I know at the time I couldn't sign up for a internet contract myself. For phones you can set up a contract, but I don't know about internet.
You can now, but they make you put down like first deposit and all kinds of stuff. But yeah. So you had internet. How much was that running you?
I think that was around $1,600 a month. So yeah, about $30. But I needed it at that time because I was working online, so it's important.
So my second big expense usually is food and groceries. I probably spend almost as much on I pay the rent, and I probably spend as much on food and groceries, dining out, coffees and groceries. What about you? Were you you weren't really splurging too much, I'm guessing?
I wasn't trying to too often, but I was a bit bigger and heavier than I am now. I've been trying to get into the gym now, really watch what I'm eating, but that was one of my biggest expenses, actually, believe it or not, because yes, I would go to Save More, which is one of the local grocery stores here, get my eggs, my magic syrup, the little seasoning you put on your eggs. That's super delicious. But yeah, I would still have to be mindful of what I was buying. Canned meat is a great way to buy cheap things, not good for you, but that and the rice. Rice is life in the Philippines. So
that's right.
I would say on average per week, it was around 3,000 to 4,000 pesos a week I was spending on groceries. So,
were you eating out, grabbing coffees, anything like that on that budget?
Yeah, coffee-wise, not really. I had one of those Italian cafetera mocha pots, obviously, and I was using some of the grounded coffee and making my own for the most part. But I lived very close to a McDonald's, and obviously the convenience of Grab food. If you guys don't know Grab, it's kind of the Uber, that we have back in the West, and you can use it to also order food. But because it was still on a budget, I'd only really use Grab food like once a weekend. So, but that'll run you another 1,000 pesos just for the meal, probably, depending on what you're getting. So
it was cheaper for you mostly to just cook at home rather than eat out. You were
much more so.
Out,
yeah, it really is. Eggs is one of the best foods you can get for the price. So,
as far as transportation, how are you getting around? Renting a motorbike, using Grab, tricycles? How are you getting around?
So really the only form of transportation for me anyways was, when I really needed to go out and get something done, grocery store wise, I was walking distance from the Save More. It was very close to where I lived, right? So I could just walk there. But if you need to extend your visa, you go to the Bureau of Immigration, which anyone who's here, or excuse me, in Cebu City, I should say, go to the BI in Lapu-Lapu, Gaisano. That's the best one. The satellite office in Cebu City is trash. So I would have to get a Grab to go there, and that'll add up a little bit over a month or two. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Healthcare? Did you have any kind of healthcare?
No healthcare. Yeah, I'm 29, so I guess I'm taking the risk. I guess so. I'm a younger expat. I'm at the tail end of my 20s, and I know some of you guys are gonna be like, "Oh man, this young kid doesn't know what he's talking about." But
did you have yourself like an emergency fund at that time?
No emergency funds. And in fact, before the video, I was telling Gio a little bit about not just for medical emergencies, but when you're living off of $800 or $1,000 a month, you're already trying to carefully budget yourself just living in the Philippines. God forbid you need to go back to the US, Australia, Canada, wherever you're from. That might add another $1,000 just for the flight to get there.
Yeah,
and if you're only making that a month, good luck. You need to have someone to help you in those cases.
Did you ever feel like, God, this is really dangerous? One emergency, and I could be on the streets, or I could be,
Absolutely, yeah. And just because I'm 29, by the way, and for anyone who's younger, however you guys want to define younger, anything can happen to you, medically speaking.
Yeah.
I could walk out, to the street, try to cross the street, and a car is not paying attention. They slam their, gas pedal, and they're, racing down the street, and you get hit, and if you're lucky, you live. You're stuck with a huge bill here, medically speaking. So those are the realities of those situations, and you have to be mindful of, if something bad happens, can I cover myself?
Did you have any left over for like going to the gym, traveling locally, anything like that, or were you kind of just a stay at home and Netflix and?
Yeah, just staying at home, Netflix, chill, kind of guy, I guess. But I didn't really do much of the gym in the beginning. Only kind of
right now
towards recently I started doing that. But in terms of travel, I was really only traveling just around Cebu Island. And I know this might shock some people to hear this, but I've been here in Philippines for about 1 year and 4 months. Today, as I'm making this, as Gio's making this video anyways, I do YouTube also, so I'm used to talking in front of a camera. But this is my first time being outside of Cebu Island. So this is really my first experience getting out of the island and traveling.
So were you dating, have any kind of nightlife, or you had a girlfriend at the time, right?
I had a couple exes, but as it happens with anyone, trial and error, definitely.
Was that costing you a lot extra, or not really?
It definitely adds to the budget, and it's no surprise if you're in a relationship with a girl, you want to spend money on her. I mean, you don't obviously want to just say, hey, here's my debit card, go out and buy something, but you want to have the boyfriend mentality, like, hey, let's go out on a nice date, my treat, whatever. And that is going to add money, absolutely. So dating wise, obviously it's great here in the Philippines, no surprise, and it's one of the reasons why guys come here too. It's just simply better than the West.
On that 800 to 1,000 budget, were you doing just a lot of Netflix and chill type things?
Yeah, no, I would, really. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, if you find a good Filipina who's not just chasing the bag or chasing you for, those kind of,
then they're okay with that.
Extra, resources or money you're making.
Sure.
She really won't care whether it's a stay at home, get a pizza kind of night, or you're going out to a 5-star restaurant. She's not going to care either way. So that's what I try to focus on when I was getting into a relationship, especially knowing that I used to have a much lower budget. So
now I think you and also me, we wouldn't recommend anybody come out with an $800 to $1,000 budget. But if you had to list out, like, some guys insists on moving out here on $800 to $1,000 budget, what would be the top 3 money saving tips that you could pass on? What would you say?
Well, if you're going to come out here making that kind of income to begin with, which again, as we just said, we definitely don't agree with doing, you definitely need to be mindful of kind of what are you spending the most money on versus the least amount, and kind of taking a look at those big ticket items, right? We mentioned air conditioning. Is that something that's adjustable? Absolutely. You don't have to have 18 degrees, blowing at medium or high temperature.
Right.
And by the way, a piece of advice for anyone who's living here with high electric costs and you're using one of those split type air cons, or even if it's one of the regular box ones, make sure you get your filters cleaned too, because
every 6 months they should be cleaned.
It uses more electricity because it's trying to compensate for not getting enough suction, or however the air conditioners work. But that's one of the big things to look at. Obviously, where are you going to live as another one. What is your level of comfortability, right? Going back to our original point, $500 a month, that's not really feasible anywhere unless you're getting a little small hut in the middle of the province. So, looking at kind of those big items, right? Air conditioning, rent, and
electric,
a lot of other
rent,
things.
Probably food, I'm guessing.
Food is the other one, absolutely. So, look at your big ticket items and then kind of just go down. And then also, is it possible to put some money in savings? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if it's something small, 500 pesos a week, we can do it, right? Again, especially if you're a single guy, no reason you can't just put a little bit of money in your savings. So I would say that's another good point. So
during that time, did you have any kind of hidden costs that popped up that you were like, oh, I wasn't expecting
other than girlfriends, but no.
Girlfriends, I mean, they can definitely be.
It'll add up, and it's hidden too because you don't realize how much you're actually spending.
Right. Exactly.
Hidden costs. Well, I wouldn't say the BI because that's something that you have to expect to do, obviously.
About 450 to 500 per year is what I tell people.
I would say so too. But overall, hidden costs, I wouldn't necessarily say there's anything major that you need to budget. I mean, maybe after we do this video, I might have thought about something. But ATMs can be another one too. If you're regularly going out to withdrawal, unless your card kind of compensates you or gives you not trade-off, but gives you money back or cash back on it. That'll cost you like $5 withdrawal, right?
Yeah.
So every ATM withdrawal.
Yeah, you should definitely get one that refunds the ATM fees.
Absolutely. That'll cost you a lot, trust me, over time.
Would you recommend this budget to anyone?
If you can live a very bare bones minimalistic lifestyle, and it's not the absolute minimalistic lifestyle, again,
it's not bare minimum, but it's certainly a far ways from the top.
I mean, you've seen you've heard the stories, you've seen the people who are truly borderline homeless living on $500 a month, and they still somehow make it work. I mean, I don't think there are visa extensions in the question anymore, though. That's probably the least of their worries. But I would say at the very, very minimum, $1,000 can be doable. As I said, have that comma in your bank account as a starting point, because the Philippines is going to get more expensive over time, just like anywhere else in the world. And if you're still only making about $1,000 a month, when we're talking about inflation and, cost of living expenses, you're going to need to up that. So I've always recommended $1,500 is a very solid budget to live on as a single guy.
A single guy,
you can live very comfortably, I would say, off of that.
You start throwing in a girlfriend though, and you want to start taking some trips. It definitely goes up. 2
plane tickets instead of 1, 2 meals instead of 1. Everything starts doubling or even tripling for some of you guys who are,
for sure.
dating a single mom. You got a kid or 2 kids. More mouths to feed. So
now, me personally, I don't think anybody could retire in the Philippines long term on that amount, because everything's going to go up and you're going to be stuck on that budget. So I would say it's more of a temporary budget, which you have moved on from that budget since then. What was the first thing you were looking forward to, when you got your finally got increased in your budget? What was the first thing you were looking forward to spending more money on? What would you say you spend more money on now?
Well, definitely the living situation again.
So you move it out of that place.
Yeah, again, kind of when you're living in a more local area, like these esquinas, as we said, right? They are kind of a hassle getting in and out of, because unless some of you guys who are living this kind of lifestyle right now, which I'm sure there's some, you have to kind of walk through these broken sidewalks, duck under these low-hanging rooftops and whatever. And I'm 6'5". I know it's hard to tell on camera, but That was one of the first things he said. He's like, "Wow, you're big."
Yeah, I mean, I'm 5'9", so yeah.
So when you're taking all of that into consideration, you got to carry these heavy waters inside, groceries. It gets pretty inconvenient, and especially if you don't have air conditioning, that's a huge deal. And so, and now I did obviously, but I wanted something more convenient, more modern lifestyle, and I moved to a condo.
So you were paying $7K for a small studio-like apartment, and now what are you paying now?
$25,000 for my current place. A little
bit of a upgrade there, huh?
And the difference is like night and day difference. It truly is. Now, again, I did get lucky with that $7K budget or that $7K place, but yeah, I think now actually with inflation, I think it's around $9,000 or $10,000 now actually.
Yeah,
so, but because I stayed there so long, they gave it to me at the same price. So they had an honor system.
Did obviously you've increased your travel because now you're out here. Did you also increase like eating out more? Do you find yourself eating out more, or you still eat at home a lot?
I would say so, but again, I'm in the process of trying to reshape my body, try to get to the gym, start lifting, lift heavy weights, and I still try to be pretty strict about just getting eggs. But now instead of canned meat, I can get fresh meat, which makes all the world of a difference. And fresh vegetables also, because vegetables here, they can get pretty expensive.
Yeah, they can.
Like broccoli can add up.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are some of the big differences. And then eating out at more, I guess you could say, luxurious places on the weekend sometimes. So
I guess we'll kind of wrap it up by saying this. Again, 800 to 1,000, doable, yes. Ideal, no. It is not exactly bare minimum. It's above it, but your point and my point, thriving or surviving versus thriving, and you were maybe not just surviving, but it's certainly nicer to thrive, isn't it?
It's much better to thrive, trust me. But coming out here into the Philippines, either way can be a heavenly, amazing, experience, or it can be your worst nightmare. So consistency of income month to month is key.
Now, you have a channel. What is your YouTube channel? Yeah,
absolutely. I make informational videos about my experience here in the Philippines. I've interviewed countless YouTubers, including Rike's Life Beyond the Sea. Obviously, if you don't know who he is, you've been living under a rock. I just love to show my experience being here. You guys can check me out at Scars, SCARRRZ. It's 3 R's and 1 Z.
There we go. Check it out. Thanks, Brian, for being on the channel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gio. I appreciate it.
See everyone on the next video. Ciao.